For our third interaction, Manuel decided to teach me how to make mush con leche. And I guess language plays a big part in this because at first I was very confused as to what mush was, and I was, to be quite honest, a little scared. I didn't know what was coming. But after our second interaction, I was super excited to get together with him again and bake. I really wanted to see what he was gonna have us do, especially after we had the apple pies. That was a lot of work. And one of the first things that he told me was that his recipe was gonna be fairly simple in comparison to mine. So that made me laugh a lot. So one of the first things that we did was we went to Walmart to get all the ingredients. So we needed milk, sugar, and mush. And at first I was a little confused on what mush was, and so we had a bit of a language barrier right there. It's like trying to figure out what mush was, what it would translate to versus what it meant in his language. So he had to describe it to me, and I ended up figuring it out that it was oatmeal. So I kind of taught him a word, and he kind of taught me a word. He had another word for it, and he used mush, and then one that started with an A, but I can't remember that. I had trouble pronouncing it, so I think that's why. But it was oatmeal, and kind of that little confusion kind of paved the way for us to talk about words and what objects mean in each of our languages. So we talked about shorts. He taught me that in Guatemala they call them pantalonetas, which I think is really cool, just the pronunciation of it. Kind of shirts, camisetas, etc., etc. So we went around Walmart and kind of, different things, and be like, oh, well, what do you call this? And he would tell me, and I'd be like, oh, okay. And he would ask me, how would you say this? And I'd be like, oh, well, it's this. And I'd be like, okay. So that's always fun. I guess, I like going to Walmart just because, it's really easy to talk about things because you can just point something out and just start talking about it. I think that kind of helps us a lot. So we bought everything, and then we went back to the school, and as we were driving, Manuel brought up money and the differences in currency between each of our countries, and he was telling me that a tank of gas in Guatemala was 150 US dollars. That it was really, really expensive, that it was un montón, which is a mountain, or a mound of money, a lot of money. And he also said cars are fairly inexpensive over here in comparison to his country. And it was crazy because, I pay $20 to fill up my entire tank of gas. And I could never imagine paying $150 for a tank of gas. I kind of told him that if it was that expensive over here, people would probably riot. And he laughed and said, "Yeah, I can see that." He started pointing out things that he noticed about our culture, and kind of how how we are about money and stuff. And so we kind of talked about that for a little bit on our way back. He was telling me about the dorms, about the differences in dorms, what he's noticed from American students versus the students from other countries. He says especially in King, the Walton students are take good care of the kitchen and clean it up after they're done cooking, and he notices that other students really don't take care of this stuff. And I feel that kind of goes back to how we all were raised, and whether or not our parents did it. And for him, he kind of had to clean up and stuff, and kind of for my parents too, they would keep me accountable for what I did, hey, if you did this, you need to pick this up. And so I was okay, well, yeah. So we made the mush. So you boil milk and water, and then you put oatmeal in there after you put it in a cup. So you put oatmeal, let the oatmeal cook, and then you put sugar to your taste. And we also had some bread with that. And he was telling me how he would drink that for breakfast in the morning, and I was like, okay, I can see this. I'm not a big breakfast eater, so it was pretty cool. He was also telling me how a lot of the Waltons, in the morning the calf has grits, and he asked me if I liked it, and I said no. And he said that he nor most of the other Waltons did either, because it's not sweet. And so he said like a lot of like the breakfast foods are like sweet. It's like I know like for me like I'll have pan dulce in the morning, and that's like sweet bread. And he said like the drink that he has, you know, he likes it a lot of sugar, and so he said that's like a big difference. You know, they like sugar, and like a lot of the foods like the grits don't have that, and so they don't really like that. So I kind of, you know, I don't think I really adjusted anything throughout this experience. Um, you know, I was already pretty comfortable with him. I guess maybe like my thought process and like what I thought about, and hopefully in the future what I think about. You know, there were insights to culture throughout our entire experience, and like that's why I love, you know, talking with him, is because he just brings up all these things. He just started talking about like the tourist industry back home, and how, you know, Guatemala has all these cultures, and how it's such a culture rich country, and you know the traditions. You know, he started talking about like the alfombras again, and like kind of that. And he asked, you know, about traditions here, and I said, well, there really isn't anything like that over here. You know, I wish. And he's like, yeah, he's like, it's just so cool, you know, everybody kind of just comes together, and I think that's a really big difference between both of our cultures, because, you know, people don't really get out and interact with the community quite a bit. And I kind of see that with the school too. I wish that, you know, the school itself would kind of get involved within the city of Clarksville a little bit more. But just like traditions and stuff. Just a lot about the currency. You know, he was telling me, you know, I should go and travel, take advantage of it, because like tickets here for me wouldn't be as expensive as they are for him, or like other people from other countries. Um, so yeah, definitely another cool experience. I love talking to him. We also said that we would get together in the future and make tortillas, or just like cook. We both love tortillas, so I think that's going to happen. But kind of these past two experiences, it's been pretty cool. I've loved hanging out with him and just talking to him and listening to him. Um, so hopefully he's somebody that, you know, he knows that he can rely on me, and that we can have fun with each other. So yeah, it was another cool interaction, just listening to him and the countries and stuff. And yeah, I really hope that we'll get together again in the future, because it's always been a blast, and I just love learning about his culture and stuff. So yeah.